so Saks Potts, wow, they announced that they were closing after 10 years, and I definitely have notes about this. Now, before we even get into it, I think the key thing to highlight here is they didn't actually necessarily say that it was because of any challenges that they faced in the business. Things could have been going all well, but it sparked a conversation in like the fashion circles around like whether you can really succeed as an independent brand, what does it take, all those questions. And I think in my experience, working with different brands and seeing, especially like young contemporary designers, it's a challenge to make your business financially work. Even though you have all the right press, the fashion prizes, the celebrities are wearing your stuff, sometimes that doesn't actually translate to money. Like anyone who works in fashion remotely knows that for a fact. It translates to respect and people seeing your brand as something to kind of look up to and like aspire towards. But sometimes that connection between like aspiration and then actually making me want to buy something, there's like a gap. And I actually think that has come from the fact that we're in the internet age. So in the old days, you could like get in a retailer and a retailer would make your life. Like that is the thing that's gonna take your business from A to B, especially in things like fashion. I feel like maybe in beauty, it's still a bit of the case to the extent, especially if you get the right retailer. But I was actually reading a couple of months ago in the Stanza, the founder of Tibi, the brand, and she was also kind of echoing this idea, and her brand's been running for over 20 years. And she was saying that when you get into a relationship with a retailer, it's so one-sided. It's like coming off a farm, like a very rural background, and then signing a prenup with a billionaire. Like the power balance is just so out of whack. And I think this is something that specifically contemporary brands really need to think about when they think about, okay, I'm designing, which is great, and you have the design skills, but the marketing gap is actually quite big. And you cannot like use the tools or the codes of the old guard in a pre-social media world of being aloof and not directly speaking to your customer and not having like these moments of joy and excitement. And I think especially in fashion, out of all the industries, there's still a little bit of like snobbery. There's a bit of, well, we don't want to look too relatable. We have to be over here. Otherwise, no one will take us seriously. And I think this is definitely a moment for anyone in fashion to really reimagine what it means to have luxury and to be successful, because success is definitely getting the coverage and the prizes that you want, but it's also making money and building a sustainable business. For those of us who want to actually kind of work in a sustainable way in this kind of space. This is one of the biggest mistakes that especially contemporary brands and founders who want to appear luxury make. And I would say the best way to kind of circumvent that is to reimagine, like I've said, what it looks like to be luxury, what it looks like to be contemporary, what it looks like to be cool. And I always take lessons from a great example in the contemporary space, which is Jacquemus, the brand, right? There's a reason why people are always talking about their marketing. There's a reason why people are queuing outside the front of the store. There's a reason why people are talking about the creators they're collaborating with in a new and exciting way. And actually, the founder, Simon, actually has a quote in the BOF exactly about this. So he says, I don't have time to be a snob. I can't. When you're independent, you have to make noise. I would love to be hidden in my provincial castle, but I can't. I need to be visible. I need to make fun things. I think there's part of me that loves that. And, you know, some people might argue that, okay, well, that's the brand identity of Jacquemus, and that may be true. But then I think as your brand, you need to think, okay, how can I translate or transpose that into what I'm doing? Because I think it's no doubt that, especially as a brand that has been independent for so long, I know they're exploring like minority investment at the moment. Like they have basically done it, right? They've entered the category as like a serious fashion, high-end fashion brand. They are, you know, making the money that they need to be a sustainable business, and they have that brand love. Like those three things, who wouldn't want that? And yeah, I would just put a challenge to kind of all brands and think about that. And I think in a different context, I also think about like the Kai collective sample sales that have been happening over the last couple of months in New York and London. And historically, in another world, a sample sale was something, especially in fashion, that no one spoke about that much. You know, you went through another provider and they kind of did it over there, right? The brand itself never owned that. And I think it's interesting for a young contemporary brand to own it and almost treat it like an activation. Like there's so much content that's come out of that, so many stories, so much brand love, so much excitement, and you've seen that in, you know, their engagement across social media, like the cues, everything has like aligned. And I think, again, when we think about how to frame our businesses and how we think about marketing, especially in this traditionally more like high-end or elevated space, where's the fun? where's the engagement, right? Like I always say that when you're marketing or you're building a business, it's not really about you. Yes, it's about what you can bring to people, but it's also about their needs and their desires. And in a world of constant entertainment, in a world of constant content, you can't just be silent. You need to be able to participate in a way that feels unique to your brand, but still exciting. So for me, like Jacquemus, Kai Collective, no notes there. I think really dig in and start to pull out like layers that could be interesting for your brand or for someone that you're working with or a project that you're working with, because we just don't have the time. As Simon said in his quote, like he just doesn't have the luxury to not make noise. You have to, and it's something that I think people should really be thinking about.